Hello. Oh, yeah, baby. We are live. Good morning, Miss Jennifer. How are you?
I am doing good. How are you?
Oh, I'm a little sad
Why is
because
that?
I didn't get to wear my
No,
pajamas, nor did I get to wear my wig.
which is fine. If they
Oh,
want to see the wig, they can go watch the video from last night. They're good.
yes, the live stream with our good friend, Mr. Jake. We got some people. I know we have some people on LinkedIn because I'm stalking y'all. Um, Leave us a comment. Tell us what your name is. We want to know that you're there. And
Where you're from.
really, the only way we can find out if you're on is if you post a comment in the chat, tell us your name, tell us where you're from, give somebody a shout out. I got in trouble, Jen. I didn't tell y'all. This was probably 2 sessions ago. Miss Mari Corpus, I used to work with her, amazing HR professional. She sent me a message. She's like, "What the hell? I get up at the butt crack of dawn to listen to y'all, and I don't even get a shout out." I'm like, "I'm sorry. I don't know if you're there if you don't post."
Guys, you have
Uh,
to let us know. Say, hey, Brian, good morning.
yes, we got Mr. Brian Winningham with Field Driven Lean. He says, "Hey y'all."
Don't ask him that, Ian. Don't ask him that.
And Ian Smith, what's up, Big Daddy? Love that you're here, Ian. He says, "What are you dressing up as tomorrow?" Um, that is fans only content.
Yeah. Ooh.
We got Will Sullivan from the NYC, baby. Oh my goodness, we're rolling now. Oh, that's coming in. It's coming in. Vance, how you doing, Mr. Vance Valencia? He says, "Good guys, checking in from Colorado Springs." Um, Brian is a leanaholic. Well, this is a support group for all of us. Yes.
Yes.
And then look who got up early for us.
Ooh.
How so? Jen, did you have any trauma from the sexy
I did.
voice?
Like I did. So those of you that did not join Jake and Jesse last night on their Friday night decompress, whatever they want to call it. Like they did dress up. And so I would suggest you go look and see what they dressed up as, because I literally had to like threaten Jesse, like, you will not be wearing that in the morning. Like, do not show up with that wig. Do not show up with that. No, not gonna happen.
Oh, it was so amazing. We had so much fun. Be ready. Be ready for that. This is a good warm up. This live stream will be a great warm up for the recording that we had last night, because
Oh God.
it's an experience. Jake, thanks for getting up early and hanging out with us. We got Adam Hoots, Old Faithful. He says, "Good morning, my faves." Man, we got a lot of people on here. Love the comments. It makes me feel special.
Yeah.
Miss Holly John Watson. Good morning, everyone. Here from Ottawa, Ontario. All right. We
Yes.
are international. Uh, James Hannigan. James, it was a pleasure to meet
Yes.
you. Was that not like the
Last week
coolest
he
thing?
came and found me. I was like, I feel special.
Oh my good, James, you like puffed up. If anybody didn't know, I have like ego problems. And now I can blame some of that on James. Getting to meet him out at LCI Congress, what was it, last week, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. Yeah. Last
Um,
week or week
it
before.
was
Yeah.
beautiful.
For
It
us,
was,
it's Saturday morning. It's still this week. So last week.
yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. Steve Turner, what's going on, Steve? Says, "Good morning, coming in from Weatherford, Texas." We got Miss Sarah
We'll go
Strand.
back. We gotta give Steve Turner a shout out. He got one of the top 5 presentations at Congress. His
That's right.
presentation did. So we've got to give him a shout out for that. Good job, Steve.
Gangsta Lean. If you haven't heard the song, check it out. That's for real. Miss Sarah Strand from Minnesota. We got Mr. Dwan Ho. What's going on, Dwan? We got here having fun again. He says hello to Steve and Jennifer. We got the Lane
Not you,
Foundation.
Jesse. He didn't say good morning to you. He just said to me and Steve.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm getting used to it. But all the star power that you bring, Jen, I'm just happy that I can
Oh,
bask in your
whatever.
glory.
Yeah, you're pulling me along. Don't lie. Don't lie.
We got Davis. telling us good morning. Excited to learn from two of the best. Man, he's so gracious in that. We got Nakash. We got a lot of repeat offenders. Says good day off from South Africa. Okay, we're global now, baby. Like all the way around.
You haven't run them off yet. That's a positive.
We haven't scared them all yet. Like,
No,
look.
Oh, and Jesse. There we go. See, called him out and he did it. Bam.
Thanks, Dwan. Oh, man, y'all keep the comments coming, please. Say hello again. Feel free to give a shout out for your people, for your organization, any and all of the above. What do you say we get into our agenda, Jen?
That's a great idea.
Okay.
It's a big one. It's a packed one.
We'll get to work now. Get serious. So top of the agenda, we're going to review our plus deltas from the last session. And so we had a few pluses, right? That's
yes.
Good. So one was brave enough to do a live recording. And
I don't know if it's brave or stupid or crazy, but we'll go with brave.
Yes. And obviously
Jesse just does stuff, right?
Jesse's
like, here's an idea. Let's go do it. Show up at this time. So I don't know if that's brave.
And Jennifer, trust me, that's the brave part. And then another plus we received was action on plus deltas from the previous session. And so that's what we're doing here. We at the end of the session. So as we're going along, maybe take a note or put it in the chat or something to let us know what we're doing that brings value to your morning or evening, or depending on what part of the world you're on. And deltas, like what can we do to improve this experience for you and your network? And we'll take those into account. And so on pluses, what we want to do is take them into account and make sure we continue doing that going forward. And so this is an example of that. We're reviewing the plus deltas. And then the vulnerability, I got several. There was a comment in the chat last time, and a personal friend told me face to face that the vulnerability that Jen and I share in this conversation is really the high value element for them. And so that reminded me that I've not done a great job of communicating exactly why this crazy idea had to happen, right? Like I was radically compelled to do something with this list of things that was written over 3 years ago. And so the compulsion is this. I've made a lot of short-sighted, selfish decisions in my life. And I've underserved my community. I've underserved my loved ones. And now I finally got my head out, right? I did some of the 3 S's, sorted out some garbage, set some things in order, and started shining inside and out. And I believe, the experiences that I've had through the legal system and every other divorces, ruined relationships, all of that, it's my belief that coming from that and sharing the learnings I had as a result of an enormous amount of missteps can help other people. And I also have kind of a way of speaking that's just kind of I think it was my favorite quote was like, Jesse, when I hear you on the podcast and I hear you talk, like, I know you're from the hood. And like, yes, ma'am, that is correct. And so I feel a responsibility to put that jacket on and be living proof that regardless of the decisions we've made and the mistakes and errors that we've been through, that does not define us. And we can use those experiences to enhance the quality of life for others. Man, did I memorize?
I mean, like that? You just hit hard, like right out of the gate. I mean, again, we talk about the importance of understanding that we're going to fail and that we're going to screw up and that we're going to do things that were probably not the best choices and decisions. And we can be in that moment and we can stay there and we can, we can have pity parties and we can talk about blame and we can make it everybody else's fault, or we can own that we're going to fail and we're going to screw up. And what did we learn from it? And how are we going to get better? And I think that's a lot of the things we talk about, but just in our everyday lives, on our, on our job sites and all that stuff, it's like failure is part of the growth. And so we have to own that.
100%. We got to embrace it and let's keep going. So deltas, This one is specific. For
I did not see that on any list anywhere.
It's in the chat.
I don't remember that one. Yeah.
One of the deltas is we did not have a TikTok dance. And so Jennifer said, ain't nobody calling me out on that. Jennifer is going to produce a TikTok dance for us for the next session. So keep an eye out. It's coming, baby. And lastly, this one came from Adam that we didn't mention. Collabo sessions. That's kind of a word that evolved as a result of us just doing this. And so these are the collabo sessions, and we're going to have there's a bunch of them with Felipe. There's a bunch of them with me and you, Jennifer, and there's going to be a bunch with all the other amazing people that want to make the environment, the construction environment, better.
Yes.
And that's what we're here for. That's exactly what we're going to do. So let's go back to the chat. Mr. Joe Donnarummo says, let's go, baby.
Yes.
Got to hang
Shout out to Joe. We did get to talk with him at Congress too, and he's got some great ideas from the people that have been around him and have given him feedback on. He's already looking at what can we do to get better, and I think that's that's a lot of our industry. And when we're continually looking at never settling and making sure that, okay, this was good, check the box. Now how can we make it better? And I think he lives in that space. And so I'm super excited for the ideas and stuff he has for next year.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. Will Sullivan from the NYC says, loves the energy. And then Nirkash echoing, failure is part of the growth. 100%. We got to embrace it, as uncomfortable as it is. Now, you don't have to fail as often as I do. Like, you don't. It's not a requirement. But I just kind of like that. I'm kind of pig pen that way. So here's another thing that I want to throw out there and remind everybody. There was a request to come up with a checklist that people can use that ties the material or the content that we've gone over so they can go and apply it to their day. And so this is an early draft. We're putting it out there so that you all can add value, pick it apart, tinker around with it. At the end of the series of these collabo sessions, we'll send out, I think I have mostly everybody's email. We'll send you a copy and just share it with your people and put it into practice. And let's see how that can bring some value to you. What are your thoughts, Miss Jen?
Completely. And I know you're going to kind of dig into a little bit of a recap, but I want to make sure that we are clear that, people jump on this and they're like, Lean 5S, what are they talking about? And I think we are really focused on our collabo sessions and the things that we talk about on the people side of Lean. And that, we say it's a lifestyle, and we say it's a lot of things that we can apply, not just on our projects, but in our lives. And so I think that was our intention and our focus on these sessions, just to kind of show how we can carry those things throughout other parts of our lives and how we have good and bad experience in that.
Yes. Well, and so it's really, somebody came up, I have y'all out there in virtual land. Jennifer is a genius. So she came up with the hashtag demo the divide. And so what, in this context, what we're talking about is the divide between Lean application, Lean concepts and tools, and the people. And so what we're going to bring to you is the people side of this stuff. It's a little bit of a stretch, but none of this stuff happens without people. We got to have the people. We got to honor them. We got another celebrity. Felipe says, people first, Lean as a lifestyle. Amen, my brother. Amen. Demo the divide. It's coming. It's coming at you.
And it's growing. And it's growing because I think in our conversations, as much as we are focused on the people, when we think about it from that perspective, Jesse, it doesn't define what company you work for. It doesn't define your role. It doesn't define where you are in the country. It doesn't define your experience. It just focuses on the people. And when we kind of demo all the things that are normally putting us in silos and take those things away, then we can really get to how we're going to better this industry together.
The operative word there is together. So this is, I'm going to give a little background, and this came from Mr. Vance Valencia giving us some feedback plus deltas. So I looked up, some technical language around standardize. And standardize means establish norms for people to follow. So in the workspace, manufacturing space, etc., standardize is establishing norms for people to follow. And we've talked about the first 3 S's. And I know somebody out there, or there's several people that are fully aware of how the evolution of the 5S system. It started with 3 S's, right? Sort, set, shine. And last week, or last collabo session, plus, I got the plus in, we talked about the shine and shining from the inside and out, and removing the unnecessary stuff, and finding the things that really bring value. And so the question then becomes, why do we need the 4th S and the 5th S and the 17th S? And the thing is, we're all human, right? We're like people. And if we were robotic, maybe we could be just fine with the 3 S's, put the programming into place, and not need any more. But because we're human beings, the 4th S, the standardize, is intended to keep us on track and remind us of those things.
Jesse, so I know you're about to move forward to what we're going to do today, which is important, but can you take like a minute for those that maybe are joining us for the first time, and just like where the content came from? Can you do it in a minute?
I'm going to do it in a minute.
Okay.
So this content, the material that we're having this discussion around, was written by an amazing woman that was brave enough to share time and space with me for an extended period of time. And the relationship was dissolving, and she was trying to meet me where I was at so that we could mend the relationship. And I always said that lean is a universal application. And so she challenged me, and she said, "Hey, fool, like you've said, this lean stuff is universally applicable." I said, "Amen, sister, you know it is." And bam, she hit me with the 5 letters. And I said, "Oh my God, like this is amazing work." And we tried, I put a lot of effort into practicing and applying these things to mend the relationship. But turns out I'm the 9th waist, and she eliminated it, or maybe I eliminated myself. I couldn't get over the hump. But I do know that this content can help people, because it indeed helped me going forward, and it helped us. It improved things, but I got issues. So that
it does. And and we say this a lot. And we say this in this circle and other circles, but it's easy to talk. We say a lot of things about the people that talk and the people that do. And I think what she said is, Jesse, are you talking or are you doing? Called you to the table. And I think it allowed y'all to kind of look at some things from a different perspective. But then either way, however it turned out, it gave us some stuff that we really were able to look at. Okay, this is outside of, we're looking at this from outside of the shop floor and off the job site. And it kind of opened those doors a little bit into some conversations.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the reminder. And so let's jump. Here's the agenda for today.'re going to be talking about standardize. Can you read that? Because I can't. It's too small. Okay. Would you mind walking us through it?
You mean to go through it all, or we're just going to start? Because I know you get way ahead, and then we have to backtrack and all that stuff. And so how about we just bring it up, and then as we hit each point, we will bring it up and talk through it. How about that?
I like that more, gooder.
Yes.
So before we jump in, and I promise I'm not deflecting here. We got some folks that I want to recognize that are out there in the chat. We got Michelle Mata. This is from San Antonio, baby. The Deuce Dime. She's a first timer, lifetime coffee drinker. Michelle, thank you. I'm in San Antonio also. So love to have some hometown peeps. Jen, look, shout out to Jen for keeping Jesse in check. Says good call, Jen. The letters are key.
They are.
And the 9th waist right here, baby. I'm gonna make some shirts and some merch that says the 9th waist with my smile.
Yes. And don't forget Richardus. I think we got one more that makes sure that we get.
Good call. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Richardus Nagra Cussi. Good night from Indonesia. Nice live session, Jesse and Jen. Go lean, man. We are honored to have you. Like for real. This is
You get to be like international ninth ways.
Mr. Worldwide. Okay.
Okay, let's focus now.
So, first topic of order. Hang on. User error. Oh, I know what it is. I got to take that off. Boom. Nope. Let's try that again. Yes. Relationship expectations.
Okay, I still think you're ahead. Let me pull the agenda back up. You're all over the place this morning.
I am. I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's all the delicious coffee. Agenda.
Okay, so number one, standardize. So that's the fourth S.
Yep.
Right. And I think we defined it. Now, you didn't pull this up, but I think it's really important because we kind of went around the importance of we are not robots, and that even though we get to a point of hey, this is working, and yet we're humans and we have variability, and there's things that that depending on how our night was the night before, it could change what we do when we show up. Brian, Field Driven Lean, he said a standard. Let me say here. Can you pull what he wrote? Because I think it's very important. The very last two words he wrote. A standard is simply the best way we know how to do a process right now. And so even if we create, hey, this is what's working, we need to make sure that it's important to know that there's always opportunities to make it better.
Beautifully said, man. Thank you. Oh, I got to give shout out. Sorry.
Okay.
So we got Charles T. Phillips from San Antonio, baby. Deuce Dime rolling deep, baby. He finally made it. First timer. Thank you, Charles. Thomas LeMay, big dog. He says, by the way, he'll be in Texas this week. Best Austin tacos recommendation. There is no such thing as great tacos in Austin, Thomas. I'm sorry. They are in San Antonio. But
okay, we're already 5 minutes behind. So we need
okay, Dominic says Canada, says hi. And lastly, we've got Deepak saying good evening from India. Looking forward to a good morning, man. Okay. I'm gonna behave.
So number one, now we can kind of go back to again the number one for us. Talk about expectations of the relationship moving forward and set clear goals with dates.
Yes.
And so that was our first thing we need to do. Once we get, we've got it shined, it looks pretty, everything's good. We've kind of talked through, we feel like we're in a good place. Then what?
So in this case, if as everybody, I know everybody did their homework and watched the first three collabo sessions. And so some of this might sound redundant, but it was critically important for us in this situation that I was in or that I created. Was that now, like we did some things, they felt right, they had an effect. And, pain has this way of bringing tight focus to a situation and then change our behavior, change our thinking, alleviate the pain. And because the pain has dissipated, we think it's solved. And so it's very easy to go back to the prior behavior because that behavior is the norm. It's what I had practiced my entire life. So it's like the sandcastle, right? You build a sandcastle. If you don't continue to add moisture to it, it'll dry up and it'll fall apart. And at the same time, there's a requirement for balance because if you add too much water to it, it'll become super saturated and fall apart. So it requires a degree of maintenance. And in this case, the relationship expectations, we had to get clear on what were our expectations of one another. Now, an important note to make is I was traveling. Our relationship transformed dramatically because I went from working in San Antonio, living in San Antonio, not doing much travel except for maybe to Austin or, Houston, not day trips, nothing long term. Then I started this new job where I was traveling all over the United States, mostly in the central United States. And that had a big impact on us. In my head, it was going to be fine because I would get in less trouble because I wouldn't drive her crazy when I was home. But I ended up getting in more trouble because of the way I function. And so getting clear on what those expectations were in terms of cadence of communication, we didn't practice Steve Turner's amazing habit of having a daily huddle with his wife. We didn't have that in place. Now, as a result of going through the first 3 S's, we identified some things, but we had to make them explicit so that we could have a check, right? We'll get to that in sustain, but these are the things we're going to be checking against to make sure that those countermeasures that we had deployed are still bringing the appropriate value and we're actually adhering to them.
So do you have an example? No, you hit it. You hit it solid. So I know we've talked and you had an example of, again, because your examples are great and you like to deflect. So we're going to dig in a little bit more. So an example of, I think you were out of town and then you came back and you like, we got this. We're good. We're rocking and rolling, right?
Yeah. Like, what's the big deal? And so one of the examples was like calling and texting on a daily basis. Which in my head, like, what's the big deal, right? I'll see you when I get home. And it was, she communicated like, Jess, you're out there and I know you're working, but I feel abandoned. I mean, these weren't her words, but this is the sentiment I picked up on was she felt abandoned because I wasn't calling, like I wasn't texting. I just didn't. And I know that's not cool. So she made it clear, like, when you're out there, I want to hear from you. I want to know you're okay. I want to hear your voice. I want to know that I'm on your mind. And I'm like, well, you are. So anyways, the expectation was that I would do that. Now, I thought I was a genius. So what I did was I set up reminders in my calendar, like at 6:05, because, I didn't want it to be at exactly 6. So it seemed spontaneous. 6:05 a.m. and then about 11:38 a.m. right before lunch, and for another text, and then in the evening about 7:13 for a phone call. Well, dummy me, I didn't realize that she could pick up on the time. She's like, I love that you're trying, but I know you have that damn stuff in your calendar. I'm like, what else am I supposed to do? Like, that's how I function. So clearly, I still have some work to do in terms of like operating more in a human style, but the expectation of contact and communication was communicated, and so I applied efforts to close that gap.
So questions, and maybe this can spin into the next conversation. So again, when you set reminders and you said, you left, you went to work, you were trying to check the boxes and doing the things that you thought were important, but was there ever a time where you were out, you were traveling, something happened, and your first thought was, "Ooh, I want to call and share that"?
Yeah, that happened a lot.
Okay.
Now, the gap was I didn't act on it.
Okay.
Right? Like I would have
important. I think, well, 2 things. One, if your first thought, again, is, oh my gosh, this is so awesome, or this sucks, or whatever, and I need to call that person because I need to share it. They're going to help me. They're going to be a good sounding board. That's a sign that, some things are balanced and they're good, and this is your person. If that's not your first thought, then you need to stop and reevaluate a lot of other things. Is that if you're away and that's not where, the person that you want to talk to. So there's that. And then on the flip side, acting on it, I think is huge, because a lot of times we have, we talk, we say that a lot. We talk and we come up with ideas and we brainstorm, and then we walk away and and then we come back the next time and it's like, okay, what were the action items? What did we do? Did we, put them into, effect? I mean, all these things, and yet we don't, because and I want you to dig in. Why did you not act on it? Because I know a lot of times we're like, oh, it's not right yet. It's not perfect. We're still working on it. We're still trying to figure out what it is. And I know one thing I value about you tremendously is you like go, okay, Jennifer, that's a great idea. Let's do it. Show up. And we do it. And I'm just like, oh, okay, let's go. And I think, but it helps us keep moving forward in the workspace.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for you, let's dig into that. Why did you choose not to act on it?
I think my Wi-Fi is
no. You did not have that excuse again. No.
Okay. So I'm gonna go to Brian, because this ties directly into your question. Brian says, how important is it that we start our standard relationship habits with ourselves? So that was the gap.
Okay.
Why didn't I act on it? Because for me, and I discovered this through a lot of therapy, that I got a therapist after that relationship ended, because it was clear that I have a problem that I need to address. And so here's the thing. For me to act on that sentiment, that feeling of, ooh, this was exciting, and I want to share this with my significant other, is a signal, or it's not a signal, it's a degree of vulnerability, right? And so I have to say, I am happy about this thing, and there's one person in the world that I want to share that with. The fact that that was the case kept me from taking the action, because what happened, what I was fearful of, was sharing that, and then her response was likely going to be, this is amazing, I'm proud of you, you know, all these things. And the adoration, the appreciation, I want more of it. And now that I want more of something from somebody else, they have power over me to withhold it from me. And that is my ultimate fear. It's the fear of abandonment. It's the fear of being disregarded and played around with. She never did anything that indicated that she would do that to me. But because of all of my baggage, that is my default mode of, oh, I want that tasty morsel. I'm not going to have it, because now they know what I like, and they could leverage it against me. So
you would need it. You would need it, which means you would want more of it. And so you projected your what could happen, what would happen on the situation, which then stopped you from doing any action.
Yes. And it's that calculation is that fast. Boom, 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 done. All right. What am I going to do next? I got some emails to check. I got some calls to make. You know, I got some mural boards or Trello boards to build out. I'm going to go deflect and drown myself in the work. And so we got LinkedIn user biased participant saying,
I'm good with that. I will take those shout outs.
Jen. Oh my goodness. But look, the Lane Foundation says my vulnerability is inspiring. Yeah, it's a credit to Jennifer. Really, I trust Jennifer immensely to be responsible with all my little feelers coming out into the internet. Awesome. Okay, so man, I'm feeling a little naked here. Can we move on to the next dang thing?
Okay, so you're gonna pull up the one you can't read, and I'll dig in. I'll open it.
Yes. Here we go. Boom. Going on. Moving on.
Okay, so next we have develop standard practice for talking about our feelings without fighting. And so I think it goes a little bit to I want to go back and give Steve Turner a little bit of shout out here again. The very first one, I think he brought up, he and his wife do daily stand-ups. They kind of meet at the beginning of the day and talk about, what they have going on. What's, again, I'm not putting words into his mouth. He did share that with us, but, and he can dig into and share that. I think he's putting some stuff out there, but I think the importance of setting that time to talk about it when you're not in the middle of it. And again, my point of reference when I come into this conversation, Jesse, I know yours is what started it, but mine, I have two girls, and they're 10 and 12, so there's a lot of emotions and feelings and fighting going on with just a lot of things with our life. And when there are issues, and I try to come in at them and try to solve them and try to figure them out and try to be the person that will fix it while they're happening or when they just happened. I have to own that I fail. I fail tremendously. And so going back to this personal relationships, we've decided that is not just, intimate relationships, but that is family. That is, kind of what is our space and those people that are around us outside of work. And for me, like having that time to where you talk about it when those feelings are not elevated is so important, because when those feelings are there, any little thing. I mean, I have three brothers, and it's the same thing that if they're fighting or they're disagreeing with something, and I push those, they get escalated, and then they go in a very bad direction. And what do we do at that point when we're trying to fix something? So we've got to find that space or that area where, hey, let's talk about some things that are going on, when we're not right in the middle of them. You have any examples or anything on that?
I do have an example, and I want to shout out to Miss Kirby Coates. I don't know if it's your setting, but Kirby's super happy to have you here and jumping in. She asked a question, right? 5S, is it a means to an end? What's your end goal? Happiness, companionship, longevity, less chaos. Like, amen, Kirby. And thank you for bringing that to us. And we got a ton of comments and okay, let's stay on track, Jesse. Stay on track.
Stay on track. And
so the idea that we're talking about now is standard practice for like de-escalating the situation. And Jen, you nailed it, right? You pretty much described the situation. In my head, when things are getting hot and heated, it's like, okay, I recognize that I'm feeling this emotion, and it's really just an emotion. And there's something else underlying. So let's talk about that. Okay, I'm good now. Let's talk. Let's go. Not everybody functions that way, right? And so in this situation, in this personal situation, it was a 99-to-1 ratio, meaning one time that I needed the space to de-escalate. I was not prepared or willing to solve the problem in the moment. And it was at the very end, right? Like it was a blow up. It was a pretty significant blow up. And I was angry. I was hurt. I was offended. I felt belittled and disrespected. And in that moment, she wanted to continue the conversation. And she even said, like, come on, Jess, this is what you do to me all the time. I'm like, right? Like, that's another punch in the gut. And I couldn't. I had to just say, look, I can't do this right now. I need time to mend because I have been cut deeply. And it was the first time that I've ever been able to say it that way, but I was so angry and so consumed with hurt and emotion that the only thing, the appropriate thing to do was to disconnect from the situation. And it was in that moment that I finally understood what I put people through with my way of processing and say, okay, yeah, I'm good. Let's go. Let's make this happen. Like, I know you're going to be mad, but you can be mad once I get what I want, what I need. I was not considering the other side of it. And so in that situation, obviously it wasn't in the situation. It was way, way after that I was able to say or appreciate that space for people to process through their feelings and through their ideas. And all of us, everybody on the call, we all have our insecurities. We all have our, there's a nice word I like to use that I can't remember right now. Anyways, we have inferiority complexes, right? Like everybody's awesomer than I am, or more professional, or more intelligent, or more educated. And so we carry that with us, and then we project it onto other people.
I think Adam brought it. I think Adam has it.
There it is. Unconscious bias, right? We see things from our own perspective, and we're not aware of the fact that we're ignoring the many, many other perspectives. And so obviously after we had that blow up is when the letters came out, and it was like, man, we need to, it ended up kind of being not a safe word, but more of a communication. Like, look, I know you want to talk about it. I can't right now. I need my time. Like, this is one of those times that we talked about. We got to do this. So we had an agreement back to standardize. What is the agreement when we get to those heated moments that we just need to say time out and give me some space, and we'll reflect on that as part of the sustainability part of the whole situation.
And I think it goes back to what your example was. It was reactive. It was absolutely self. I'm looking at it from my perspective. What's going to work for me? I'm not taking anything else into account. So that's that unconscious bias. Number two is everything was reactive. So if something happened, then you had to react. She had to react. And I think what this does, this specific point is you are being proactive and you are setting that time. Hey, every morning at this time, or hey, when I come back from being out of town, we'll sit and we'll talk. It's just what we've got to set the time ahead of time. And I mean, I'm going to bring a personal example of, I have a daughter that has really bad anxiety. And so she worries about a lot of different things throughout the day and on the weekends and when we're out of town. And we realize that in that moment when she is escalated with anxiety, we can't go, it's okay, calm down, no big deal, you'll be okay. Because she's at a place where nothing, no reason is going to work. So we have to find a time to where we set a time and go, at this time of the day is when we're going to talk about all the things that are going on in your head. So during the day when we're somewhere and she starts go, okay, let's whatever's going on right now, let's put that in that box. And then when we talk tonight, we're going to talk about this. And again, it doesn't work every time, but at least gives her a moment to where she knows she can put it away, but also we're not trying to fix it. And sometimes it works better than others, but I think for us to be able to go in this moment, I can't discount it because that's me. Deal with it, move on. We're talking about a 10-year-old, but we're also looking at giving it value, acknowledging it, and going, we'll talk about this when you're not in the height of the emotion and how it's affecting you. It's the same exact thing as what you're talking about.
Yes. And what we put, I think you told me a story about tomatoes and energy.
Well, no, tomato plants, and she has a book about, again, anxiety, but it's when you plant a tomato plant and you water it and you tend to it, it grows. And if you continue to water and tend it, it will grow out of control. And that's the same thing when we think about emotions and anxiety and stuff like that. If we do not cater to it, or we do not give it the water and give it the attention, it's going to wither up and die. And I think John Thacker posted something on LinkedIn that it brought it right full circle on, we can't spend the time watering the weeds.
Yep.
We've got to stop doing that, because all we're doing is helping them grow and helping that stuff grow. When we have flowers and we have green grass and we have things that if we don't put our focus where we need to put it, those things are then going to start withering up. So again, there's a lot of stuff out there on where we put our time, where we put our attention, and do we need it? And we need to set those times so that we don't get caught up in that emotional, roller coaster and go, because we're going to get drawn to that stuff. That's that's human nature.
Yes. And on that line of thinking, Mr. Thomas LeMay, who, by the way, was part of the after party on our last session, and we're going to have another first timer on Clubhouse. We're going to have another after party directly after this collabo session, so that if y'all, the link is in the comments. You scroll up to the comments, the link's there. I posted it on LinkedIn. Please join in so we can get to hear your voice and have a deeper communication. The outcome of the last conversation was pretty darn profound. And so that's just a teaser for what to expect after the 5th S. But Thomas says, do you think, Jennifer, the question is to you, Jennifer, do you think standardization combats self-deceptive beliefs?
I don't think it combats it, because to me, I think combat like it comes at it, and it fights it. I think standardization helps create the space to be able to overcome those. So if we standardize it and go, here's our time we're going to talk, and here's our time that we're going to meet and discuss this, it allows us to not get pulled into those things in the moment. And those conversations outside of that emotional moment may allow us to then go, okay, here's a solution, or here's a better way to do it. So it helps us kind of work through them. But again, I don't feel like it goes right at it. I think it allows for the space to be able to overcome it.
Love it. Thank you for that. The curious idealist, Miss Angel Lavecchio, says, I love the time attention analogy to tending plants. Thank you for that, Jennifer. And then James, I'm sorry, I'm going to put you up here because I know that this can be helpful to you, in that you're being extremely vulnerable, sharing a very vulnerable moment You as a construction professional putting yourself out there and you're sharing it with the world. So folks out there, let's give them some thumbs up, claps, hearts. Like this is huge, James, sharing this experience and this situation that you're dealing with. He says, I can appreciate your transparency and honesty. Returning from LCI, shared some thoughts about continuous improvement with upper management through email, which many of us are dealing with that exact challenge.
Yep.
He reread it and rewrote it several times, deleting it, worried about being rejected. In the end, he wrote it. He just wore it on his sleeve, and he's waiting for a response. So applause, James.
Yes.
That's what it takes, man. You just put it out there. It never hurts as bad as we think it's going to hurt. And thank you for sharing your story, because that's going to help others to step outside of their comfort zone.
And it goes back to I know we have tons of stuff. I'm going to let you pull that up, but it goes back to that perfection paralysis, is where we overthink and overthink and overthink. And Adam knows I'll call him out because he sometimes gets in that moment, but we do, we want it to be perfect. We want it to be where it needs to be. And Jesse, I think you helped me be the opposite of that, of like, just try it, throw it out there, throw it up on the wall. Let's go and see what happens. Okay. It's probably going to be screwed up and messy at the beginning anyway, but most things are that end up working out. And so it's like, why not just try it? And so again, super big shout out to James, because I know it's kind of scary when you're doing it, but you did it. You pushed the send button, and again, that's huge. So great job.
You got to put it out there, put it into the world. We ready to go to number 3?
We're gonna have to. We're gonna run out of time.
Good. This is good. Okay, so what's it say? I can't.
Okay, number 3: a secure commitment on important dates or events, and follow through.
Yeah, it's the second part, the and part that I needed to work on. And so we talked about this in one of the first 3 sessions about how we started using the calendar on the refrigerator. And so it was kind of like, okay, we're going to use it. And we used it. And the pain dissipated. Like, hey, you know where I'm going to be. I know when I'm going to be home, and not like everything's great. We don't need to do that anymore. Oh, yes, we did. Right. Like that's the standard. And so then it evolved to, okay, this is where I'm going to be traveling. But let's start with, what are the important things that I needed to be home for or be present for? And likewise, what are the important things to me that I wanted her to be present or available for? And so magically, I couldn't use work as an excuse anymore. Neither one of us could, because the first thing that went on the calendar was those important things. Then I built my travel schedule around that. Like in my head, like, we got it figured out. No. There was another level of standardization required. It wasn't simply putting it on the calendar anymore. It was being explicit. I want you to be here for this thing. And I need you not to be coming out of the damn airplane with your bags and showing up, sliding into home at the last minute. Like, oh, and so securing the commitments, the follow through. So that little example I gave about flying in with my bags and Uber dropping me off and making a ruckus because I'm coming into the Christmas play or whatever it was, that was not acceptable. And so getting clear on what the commitment was, right? Like the thing was, we're going to ride there together, and we're going to leave from the house, and we're going to come in smooth and cool and calm. It's not going to be Jesse style. And so I had to she had to be explicit because I'm a little dense, but I had to make the commitment. And more importantly, I had to follow through, because it was amazing to me how easy it was for me to just say, but I got to work. But, the flight or the meeting or whatever, which those are important things. But we kind of started off this whole conversation talking about how, and this is, I'm going to put on my hypocrite hat right now. I recognize and completely appreciate and advocate for how important people are. And I can bang that drum all day long in the workspace. But when it comes to my personal life, to my personal relationships, I fail miserably at taking that into account. I'm working on it. I'm getting better at it, but I'm nowhere near where I want to be and where I should be for the people that love and care for me.
I'm like getting emotional right now because I have an example. No, I have an example that happened this week that, and again, I know this, we talk about it. This is stuff that we believe in, and I had a fail, and it was such a big fail, and there's nothing I can do about it but try to do better next time. So this week, and it goes right to what you just said, is we make our travel, we try to make sure we're accommodating and making sure we're there for the things that are important. And this week I had a very big meeting that I needed to be in, and I had to travel to go do it. And it happened to be a meeting that I was facilitating, but I also had a daughter that had her last volleyball game on the same day. And again, I mean, like I schedule things around, family events and things that are important. Last volleyball game of the season. So communicated that and said, hey, it was going to be a 10 to 2 meeting. Now it's going to be an 8 to 12 meeting because I have to catch a flight to be able to be back. And got to the airport, 3-hour delay.
Ooh.
Landed, game was over in 10 minutes, missed it. And so again, great intentions. And at no point did I was work more important, was not more important. But I put myself in a situation where I didn't have control, and I did everything I possibly could to still make that important and be able to follow through on my commitment. And it was a fail. And you know what? Airlines, there's things we can't control. My 12-year-old daughter, I can't explain that. Like, I can't use that as a defense and go, I tried, I'm sorry. It's one of those things that, there's nothing I can do until she plays volleyball again next year. And and so again, for me, when you're talking, it's like my heart is hurting and she was understanding, and but I could tell that it hurt her, and I can tell, and there's nothing I can do about that. So going forward, I need to think about those things. I need to think about my flights out. Do I push them later? Do I make sure that I don't put myself in those situations again? Because, one time, again, she's not going to hate me forever, but it's one of those things that as we continue to make those decisions, are we putting ourselves continually in situations to where, one, we don't have control, and two, are we hurting the people that matter to us the most?
That's
yeah.
That's what this is all about. Let's bring the emotion down. Love it. Thank you, Jen, for sharing that with everybody. Ian, amazing human being, shares that his family schedule comes first and he travels around it. His wife is super understanding about when he needs to be somewhere. And the real truth, sometimes he's afraid to tell her, but she understands and she trusts that he's coming home. And so I know a lot of people on this call are travelers and have some immense responsibility in their organizations and in the industry. But we're human beings, and there's people that love us, and we got to find a way to serve them appropriately. And I'm saying that with my hypocrite hat on, by the way. And Dominic gives us some practical perspective here. He says, standards are a short pause to reflect before we take the next action, just like a step in the staircase. And Jen is saying the outcome was nowhere near what you wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. But you took the time to reflect. You've shared it with the audience. And I'm sure going forward, you'll put things in place so that you can be there and watch that 12-year-old play some volleyball. Oh, I love it. Okay. Man, this time is flying by and I'm loving it. Whoo, baby.
Wait,
agenda time.
Christy has a comment, I think, one just because it's to me, and I think
coming up.
Yeah. I can relate to that. I'm consistently asking for forgiveness for failing and hurting family. Work is more important. Like, again, and none of us are saying it is, but it's like that's real. Like that's things we deal with. Part of the reason this even was created is because our work, I don't like people when they say work-life balance. It will never be a balance. It will be work is number one or family is number one. And there's times where we have to make one decision or the other. And it's not going to be, I mean, it's just not. We don't work in an industry, and I don't know if there is an industry that it's a balance. We've got to make sure that we make the things that are important, and we make the decisions around that. And, and hopefully we work for people that allow us to do that.
Yes. And so another lesson I learned from that and from this conversation here is I honestly don't believe work is more important most of the time, but my actions communicate that work is the most important thing. And anybody out there that knows me, that's known me for an extended period of time, will tell you that my actions are 100% indicating to the world that my work is the most important thing. And I neither confirm or deny that accusation. So point number four.
Yes. And this one is a big one. And you have a story for this. So I like this one because I think it's important, and we get to put back on you and you can't deflect. So number 4, discuss the duties that will be outsourced, such as lawn care and housekeeping, to avoid stress. And so again, you and I had a discussion on just this one point, and, again, the inside the house, the outside the house, what that looks like and how that can impact other things. And so you want to kind of give your example, and then you can kind of talk through that.
Yes. So I'm cheap and I don't like spending money. Like, I just don't like spending, unless I'm buying like shoes or something, then it's okay. And so what happened, like, that direct point came from the blow up, right? When the blow up I shared earlier, where I was all just drowning in my emotion and just said, like, get away. I'm just going to go do my thing. And so what was happening, I was coming home. I was in Denver that week and I was flying home. And so communicating the plan for the weekend, I'm going to go pick up some steaks at Boner's Meat Market over here on Flores in Mitchell on the south side, baby. And I'm going to barbecue some steaks. I'm going to work on the truck. I was going to replace the grill. I was going to come to the house and do some yard work and some stuff at my house and mow the lawn. And like, that was going to be the weekend. And so Saturday morning, I'm sitting down on the recliner thing, drinking my coffee, opening up all the stuff I bought from AutoZone and Home Depot. And the response I get is, "Oh, you're just having a grand old time." And I'm like, yeah, like, what did I do? What did I do wrong?
Right?
And that was the plan. Well, it was beautiful and great for me. It clearly wasn't great for her, because there was no space or time or maybe more importantly, thought given to 100% dedicated focused time to her. And so, of course, I defended, like, well, we got to mow the lawn. You live on a damn acre. Like, so that's going to take me half the day. And, I'm going to be working on the truck and hanging out with the little guy. Like, what am I doing wrong? I'm like, if y'all don't know out there, I have spent some time in my life being one of those, like, the bad guy. Like, I probably still am a little bit. I'm the friend that your wife doesn't let you go anywhere with. And I've been that friend since middle school. And I've earned that, like, straight up earned that. Now, all of a sudden, I'm like, I got all these highlights, right? And so I'm behaving myself a little bit more, and I'm still getting in trouble. And does not compute. Like, why am I getting in trouble for doing good guy stuff? And so again, like I said, I was caught up in my emotion. She hit me with these letters, and I'm like, okay, like, this last one here about outsourcing stuff. Why are we going to spend that money? Like, I'm here, you're here. What's the thing? And finally, she's like, yeah, dummy. But you're not. What about me? Like, what about my focus time? If anybody's read the 5 love languages, is it 5 for the love language book, whatever it is? My number 1 love language is quality time. And so I take that into account and expect that entirely when it's coming my way. But I did a poor job of dispelling that and taking that into account. And so what she helped me understand was, like, I don't have to mow the lawn myself. And really, that was not the value that she was seeking from me. It was not her telling her friends, I look at my man mowing the lawn, right, with his wife beater on, looking all sexy. It was not that. It was giving her all my attention. And I missed it. And so going forward, we said, okay, we'll find a lawn service that's going to knock out, like, free up 4 hours of my time on the weekend or whatever it was. Find a source to do the house cleaning that frees up all of our time so that we could, but it was important. We're not just going to free up time, because for me, I free up time and then I fill it with other live streams and, different things. It was like, no, we're going to protect that time, and it's going to be me and you time. And that's, again, as I mentioned before, I was working on a lot of things. That was one of the things that I failed at. I still couldn't get there. It was like, free time, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to go run, I'm going to, XYZ. Thank you, Jen, for helping me share that.
But I think it goes back. I mean, everything you're saying, and I'm listening to you, but it goes back to setting those clear expectations, which is number one, is making sure that what is the expectation. And so again, as we go through and we start, in finding those things that we can free up time, let's go back to number one. Okay, then what's the expectation now that we have this extra time? What's the expectation? I know some people have date nights, and some people, we're going to do this together, and we're, and things like that. But what are those clear expectations, and defining them, and then going, hey, we're going to follow through with what we're saying. Yes. And so again, we don't just work our way through it. Again, just like the 5 S's, work our way through it. Okay, we're good. Let's go. I mean, it's okay. For now, this is where we are. Brian says that. And so then, okay, now what? Because we all know, just like our projects, just like our people, just like our companies, growth. And if at no point should we, especially in our relationships, much less with our kids and our family, like they're always evolving. And some are going backwards, some are going forward, some are going sideways. We know that because we deal with people all the time, and those things, there's too many variables. But we have to make sure that we're taking into account that it's never at a standstill. So if it's not moving forward, it's going in another direction. And what is that direction?
Yes, we got to evaluate that. So I've learned, and like I mentioned, I struggled with the idea of outsourcing. And Adam turned me on to a book. I think it's titled Who, Not How. And that's helped me tremendously reevaluate the way I look at things. Is if there's tasks, like specifically with the podcast, since I read that book, I've got some virtual assistants, hired some virtual assistants to do some of the editing and some of the copywriting, which I don't really like doing all of that. And that gives me 5 hours back per episode, like minimum 5 hours, sometimes more, because I get hyper focused on like dumb stuff that nobody even cares about except for me. And so I share that for folks out there, y'all on the call right now. If you're struggling with letting go of some of these tasks that's not the value your significant other or your family or your work folks want from you, maybe it's time to find someone else that can pick up that load so you can deliver the value you are intended to deliver. It's not easy, but it's totally worth it. Ian shares a success story about it. He says he came to San Antonio in 2008 for about 8 months on a project. He cleaned the house and wife not so much, but she hired a housekeeper, and they've had that ever since. And it makes her happy. And when she's happy, Ian's happy. Like we gotta get there. So
I think it's important to say, and I think you hit on it. I mean, Ian hit on it. We that are those high achievers that are pushing, that want to make things better, that feel like we can take everything on and we're going to be the best at it. I mean, that's a lot of the people that we interact with is like, I got this. And we look at giving up something as a fail, or we giving up something as I wasn't able to do it. I wasn't able to handle all this stuff. Now I need somebody else. What didn't you talk about need at the very beginning? That then all of a sudden you're less than what you should be. And I mean, that's a whole, like that in itself, you talking through that, it's like, that was you had it. I'm out there. I got this, whatever. I mean, same thing. We get in that mode of by giving it up and giving it to someone else, or having someone else needing to help us. What? We need help. that we don't have it all figured out. We can't handle the whole world on our shoulders and still be rock stars. I mean, what are you talking about?
Yep.
And I think that, I mean, that's why we're successful in what we do, is because that's our mindset at work. That's our mindset in our space, where we want to continue to make it better. We want to continue, to do better and make the people around us better. We've got to stop trying to think we can take that exact same mentality and apply it at home, and all of a sudden everything's going to flourish in the same environment. We've got to be able to go, I got to give this stuff up. I've got to be able to allow other people to help me, whether it's that your significant other, whether it's your family, or whether it's just, again, outsourcing that to people that is their specialty. And right now I'm working through, I mean, we're in a space where there's a lot of amazing people that are really good at things. And if I understand Scrum, I do, and I could actually go in and talk to people about it. I don't want to. I can just have Felipe do that. I mean, like, there's things that I can say I'm okay with that. Like, we've got to get to a place to where we don't have to be the expert at everything. Focus on the things that bring you passion, that bring you purpose, that help you wake up and be excited about it. And then let the other people who there's things that do that for them. Let them do that and bring them into your space and allow you both to flourish. And those are the things that I'm just like, it's okay. It's okay that you allow and give it to someone else so that they can then do the things that bring them, pride. Chrissy says that, bring them pride and bring them, things that make them happy.
You got it. So a few things. We're going to jump into plus deltas. Nirkosh made a request about the book. Let's see there we go. This is the book that I referenced that Adam turned me on to. It's Who, Not How. So check it out, Nirkosh. Love to hear what your takeaways from it coming up on the future collabo sessions. Keon Zandy has joined us, and he says, good morning. You can make more money, but you can't make more time. Boom, dropping knowledge. And then Miss Kirby says there is a cost factor with every choice. The cost isn't always monetary.
I learned that this week. Very much.
Yes. And I felt like that was a slap in my face. So let's move on to plus delta, shall we?
Yeah.
All right, man. This was y'all. Are y'all having fun out there? Are y'all still awake?
I'm going to tell you, I want to do plus. First thing is, like, the engagement in the chat, like, elevates this every time. And today was even better than last time. Like, every time we get together, the engagement in the chat makes this what it is. Jesse and I bring whatever we have, which is two people's perspective. And then we get all that engagement in the chat, and it just elevates this, to a degree we couldn't even imagine. So that's my plus. Type that up.
You got it. Damn it. I was distracted. Oh, so I gave a shout out to Kirby. That was not Kirby. That is another unknown LinkedIn user. So thank you, unknown LinkedIn user. And Kirby, you're still amazing. Duh. So I just want to say your name out there so everybody can hear it. Felipe. So plus is, put a little plus sign, write the word plus, tell us what brought value to you. Delta is, again, put a little minus sign or write the word delta. What can we do to improve the situation? Felipe says, plus Jen for mentioning Scrum and Felipe. It's like those words, they don't go separate. They're synonymous. Ooh, is that a fancy word or what? And he does the same for culture. Plus, when there's a culture conversation, who you going to call? Jen! And then I get an example. I get a shout out for seeing patterns. Yeah.
And asking great questions.
Yes.
You do good.
Yes, because it keeps the focus off of me.
Yes. So delta is Jesse's deflection.
Wait a minute. No, not on that. Yes. Jake says, plus he's awake, he's just barely awake. Authentic conversations. Oh, here's a good one. LinkedIn user says delta unknown users. But you know what? I'm going to say this, like, agreed. I'd love to know your name and who you are. But we don't have unknown users in here detracting from the conversation. the unknown users are adding value to the conversation. So thank you for that. Another Delta is, I wish we were all in person again. Agreed. Man, we got a bunch of them coming in. Ian says, Delta, Jesse needs bifocals. Ian, I was going to wear my bifocals with my wig.
No.
And look at that. Adam says, plus Jesse didn't wear the wig and Jen didn't have to tell me. Christy
and no one disappeared. Let's make sure we say that, because that's very important. Because we have experience of people just dropping off the call and there's no co-host. Yes.
Well, we still got 6 minutes, girl. Christy's hiring a chef as a result of this conversation, so it's our fault. Do it, Christy. Keon gives us a plus. He says, yeah, we're getting better. Regis and Kathy Lee, I love it. Mr. Adam is getting sick to his belly with the.
He's not. He's fronting.
He's
just fronting right now.
Yeah,
he's not.
Yeah. So reminder, there is a Clubhouse after party. Jake, I got to see in the comments you got hooked up. Thank you for hooking him up. The next collabo session is going to be in 2 weeks, November 13th, 8 a.m. Central. Please join in. Ian gives us a Delta. He says he's used to having his camera in a Teams call, so he feels awkward about not being seen when he's talking. Yep, results of the pandemic, 100%. And George Hunt, plus his first time being able to tune in live. George, welcome and thank you for tuning in. Plus, Jen, I saw your eyes get glossy. So plus is the vulnerability. You went there, right? Like
I did. I don't like going there, and everybody knows that. I don't, but yes, that's important. That's part of what we're doing.
Yes. Ian went there in the chat. Brian's gone there in the chat. James went there. So my plus is this community that we're building, where we can all openly share, even though we're not in person, right? We're virtual. We can still have a shared amazing experience that helps us learn and grow together, given the constraints that we're dealing with. So plus to the attendees and for the value and depth that they brought to the conversation. You said it earlier, there's so many darn comments in the chat that I just can't keep up.
Well, and I think Vance's is important just because we have one more officially on the S's, because we have sustain that we have to hit in 2 weeks. And Vance's, his comment I think is important. It's hey, LinkedIn people, because we have the most engagement on this one than we've had, and that's awesome. Shout out to our people. But Jesse does a great job putting things out on LinkedIn and sharing the upcoming episodes and things like that. And so Vance is asking, hey, share it so that people will show up on the next one, because I feel these keep getting better. Jesse keeps, staying on the call the whole time. And that helps. But share it, because even I know he's really good at putting the links in so people can kind of watch how we got to where we are, but also just the, that last one and how it's going to tie all of them together. And then potentially maybe an extra one that kind of came from the Clubhouse. Are you going to hit that at all before we?
Yep. Clubhouse after party. The link, you can scroll up to in the chat to find the link. It's in LinkedIn somewhere on there. There's a post on LinkedIn. So if you're on YouTube, scroll up to the top of the chat. The link to the Clubhouse after party is in there. It'll take you directly to it. If you're on LinkedIn, you can go to my profile and find a post that I made. I think I made it last night, maybe this morning, who knows? And click on that link so you can jump in so we can continue the conversation. So we got Thomas LeMay saying, highly recommend checking out the Brian Winningham episode. Thank you, Thomas. Brian Winningham's, I had the opportunity of interviewing him on the Learnings and Missteps podcast. His video is live or maybe not live, but accessible and ready. If you want to take it in and see all the beautiful smiles, it's on YouTube. You can check it out there, or you can listen to it via the typical podcast. Look at this. Collabo session. Demo the divide. Winningham gets a shout out. So y'all, this was a pretty intimate experience. Would you agree, Jen?
I do, and it keeps getting more intimate, and we keep bringing. It's one of those things where it's like it's kind of crazy to me because our group is growing and we have more engagement. And normally, when you think about like if you and I are talking, it's kind of intimate because we're able to kind of know each other. And the more people that go into a group, it gets less intimate because normally you're trying to accommodate and whatever. But this one is like the opposite. It's like the more we get engagement, the more we're getting people jumping in and and getting vulnerable and being transparent. And again, it makes my heart happy.
Yes. And with that, we will close. Thank you all. Love y'all. And I hope to hear your voice on Clubhouse.
Yes.